Greetings, mighty companions, and welcome back to Transforming Relationships Through A Course in Miracles with the Quinns.
Hello to another great week of A Course in Miracles, where we're going to dive in tonight to the you within you, the real you.
That's right. We're going to hear about the real you. Will the real you please stand up?
Yes.
We're going to hear about the real you, the you as you were created by God, and we're going to hear about the fake you.
The copycat.
Exactly. And we're going to hear about the different kinds of relationship experiences depending on which one you're identifying with. Yeah. It makes a big difference in your relationships. So that's what we're going to talk about. And where we're at today is chapter 24, section 5.
In both the blue and the purple annotated.
Yes, in both editions.
Both editions.
Yes.
So nice.
Exactly.
Same titles.
Same titles. And the title is The Christ in You. So I want to give you the definition of the Christ in you that A Course in Miracles gives. And the Course in Miracles defines the Christ as you as God created you. So your original, your self OG.
The innocent you. I like to just call it the good you.
Yes. The you as you were created by love, that you have never ceased to be, even though you learned a lot of other stuff about yourself besides you're only good, you're only innocent. So it is the self in you that has remained exactly as God created it. So it's your original self, your true self.
Yourself that you've always been.
That you've always been. You've always been guiltless. You've always been whole and complete.
Innocent.
You've always been innocent. You've always been pure. You've always been complete, meaning that you have everything that your Creator gave you in your creation. You know, you're still as God created you. But right. We just don't know that self. We only know the self we learned about ourselves, and that is the self that's incomplete, guilty, afraid, angry, vulnerable, lacking, and is gonna die. Mm-hmm. Okay? That's the self we learned. So there's our true self, the way we were created by God and still remain, and then there's our learned self, our fake self, the Course calls it our self-concept that we learned from people who didn't know the truth about themselves.
Right.
Okay. So we're going to hear about your true self that is still within you. The Course calls it the Christ in you, or your Christed self. Okay. The self that has remained as pure and innocent and guiltless and eternal as it was created by God. And we're going to hear about the other self in you, which in this section it calls your specialness, your special self. So that's the self that is so full of perception of lack and guilt and shame that all it can do is try to get and compete and try to be victorious. So there's the Christ in you, your real true self, and then there's your special self, mm-hmm. the one that you learned that is a self that is very weak, very vulnerable, always afraid, anxious, always angry, and your fake self, your special self, is the self that believes that perfect love does not exist within it, so it's got to go out and get and take the love and compete and struggle to survive. Okay, so we're going to hear about our two selves, and we're going to hear about which one is real, and we're going to hear about what kinds of relationships we have according to which one of those selves we're identifying with.
All right.
All right, okay, great. So it's 24:5, and the title is The Christ in You, and I titled this class, The Real You in You.
Yeah, the real self.
Yeah. Well, who is the real me? Is it the loving part of me that only that knows that I am love and only sees other people as love? Or is the real me the part of me that never feels like I am enough or will ever be enough, and it's got to go out and get in order to survive or to have love? So which is the real me? All right. So it says, the Christ in you,
the real me,
real you in you is very still.
Oh.
Oh, okay.
Right,
well.
Right, there's a noticeable difference.
There you go. Okay. Which really means that the fake you, your special self,
is restless
and busy.
Yeah.
Is restless, anxious,
it's
busy.
It's mine. It's just
preoccupied. Exactly. If the real me is still, then it means that the fake me, my special self, is anxious, restless, busy, preoccupied.
And we're going to hear this phrase over and over throughout this particular reading about our true self.
That's right.
As with everything, the Course always wants us to work in... we're in a world of differences, contrast, and the Course says, okay, that seems to be the way you get it, you understand differences, so let's work with that. And we're going to start out with the differences of your true self and your fake self.
Exactly, your learned self.
Your fake self is not still. So that's right out the gate.
Right off the gate.
We can start taking notes and going, is this me or not me? Is this to be or not to be?
Right.
And to not to be is when I'm not still. And that's going to be a phrase that's repeated over and over, because I think it's one of the easiest ways to catch ourselves. Oh, this isn't the true self that I am.
Exactly.
My true self isn't like a race car driver in my head going, oh no, oh no, 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 about whatever I'm thinking oh no about. My true self is just
very relaxed.
Very relaxed.
Very still.
Very still, which is also a way of saying very calm.
Very calm. Okay. So that's the first thing that the Course wants us to know about our true self, our real self. And then it says, your real self looks on what you love. Your real self looks on what it loves. That's all it sees. Your real self is just like, I love. Whatever it sees, it loves. It's loving. Your real self is just loving. It loves whatever it sees. Okay? It looks on what it loves. And your real self knows what it looks on as itself. So your real self goes, I love this person because they are a part of myself. Okay? That's what your real self sees. Your real self only sees dearly loved and beloved friends that it's one with. So another little clue as to whether you're in your right mind or in your wrong mind, whether you're identifying with your true self or your learned self. Or you could say whether you're identifying with the Christ in you or your ego. So your fake self, your learned self, your self-concept is just another synonym for your ego. Your ego is your learned self, the self-concept you learned about yourself that's very weak and vulnerable and afraid. That's your ego, your learned self. Okay, but then the real you, the Christ in you, the self that has remained exactly as God created it, is very still. It's relaxed. It's calm. All right. So your true self, all it does is see dearly loved and loving friends who are one with it. So that's what you'll be seeing in others when you are identifying with your true self. Okay? Then it says, and so your real self rejoices at whom it sees, because your real self knows that whomever it's seeing is one with you and one with God. So that's how you see people when you're identifying with your true self, the Christ in you.
And how do we see ourselves one with another? You know, does that mean, well, they're a woman, so I'm a woman? No, it means that I'm the same. They're the same, I'm the same.
And we're equal. And equal in God's love.
Yeah, we're equal creations of God. You came from God, I came from God. That in itself makes us equals.
Exactly. You know, it's like we are with our siblings, you know.
Right.
Because we and our siblings share parents, you know, then we are one. You know, we always say if we have the same parents, then we're one. We're connected, you know, and
yeah, you're not an equal brother. You're 10 years older.
Right.
You're still an equal child.
That's right. And so your true self, all it sees is dearly beloved friends who are one with it.
Right.
That's all you see when you're identifying with your true self. You know, you just see beings who you love, who you're connected to, and that are one with you and one with God. That's how you see people when you are identifying with your true self. Okay.
You see God in you. We all like to think God's in us, but where we break down is where we fail to see God in another.
Right.
And when we see God's essence in each other, and that's just a demonstration that we now see it in ourselves.
That's exactly right. Beautiful. And so you know who you're identifying with according to how you see other people. You know, and if you're seeing other people as in competition, as attacking, if you see other people as an enemy, if you see other people as, you know, anything but your beloved equal, your beloved sibling, spiritual sibling.
Wouldn't that be the definition of the word specialness? Is when you don't see the other as
exactly.
your equal.
That's right. And now we've heard about our true self, the Christ in us, and now it's going to talk about the other self, our fake self.
Right.
And that another word, fake out self, the ego in us. So now we're going to hear about the ego in us. What does it see? How does it see people? How does it react?
Yeah, and how do we feel when people are acting fake around us? You know, we're like, you're so fake, but yet we'll put up with this fake self
called the ego.
Within us.
Absolutely. Identify with it.
Yeah, we won't put up with other people's fake self, but we'll put up with our own fake self and identify with it within us.
Right. We just didn't know that the fearful, weak, and vulnerable and vicious self was not us.
Right.
As a matter of fact, you know, when the Course tells us that our true self is only loving, it is only love, then we think we're being duped. We think we're being fooled.
Right.
You know, we're like, you don't obviously know me, you know. So, turn this off. Okay, beautiful. So now we heard about our real self.
All
it's
right.
very still.
Very still, very
Everyone
calm.
that it sees as a part of itself and equal, and it just can't help but love them. Okay? Now, in contrast, your special self, your ego, that wants to get specialness from another, okay? Your ego takes joy in what it sees too, although what your ego sees is not true.
Right.
Okay.
That we're not equal.
And
we're not the same.
We're not the same.
We're not. What happens to one of us doesn't affect the other one.
Right. We're separate.
Right.
So
we're divided.
Right. Our true self does not see anybody as separate or different or unequal from us. And we love them because we're related.
Right.
We're connected by the same creator.
Right.
Our ego also takes joy in what it sees.
Right.
Even though what our ego sees isn't true.
But it takes joy in it.
Sure does.
It's like, yay, we're different. Yay.
Yeah. Oh, look, there's sin in them.
Right.
All right, good.
I'm better
Juicy.
than them.
Exactly. I see the sin in them. I'm better than them. So our true self loves whomever it sees, knowing that whomever it beholds is a part of it, and one with us and one with our Creator, making us eternally related. Our ego takes joy in what it sees, even though what the ego sees isn't true. Yet what you seek for is a source of joy as you conceive joy. What you seek for is what? Is a source of joy as you conceive it. So whatever you're looking for is what you call joy, okay? Whether it's joy or not. And that's because what you wish is true for you. What is it that you wish? What do you want to be true? That's what's true for you. Isn't that deep? Mm-hmm. That's the law of perception. Yeah. Whatever you want to be true is what will seem true to you. You see what you want to see.
That's that old saying, seek and you'll find.
Exactly. That's what that means.
So what you think is true for you. As a man thinks in his heart, so he is.
So does he perceive.
Yeah,
right, exactly.
So you perceive it to be that way.
That's right. Exactly.
It's like we manifest in the world of perception what we believe. Whatever we believe comes in the world of form.
Mm-hmm. That's right. That's the law of perception. Whatever you want to see, you will see. Right. Oh, well, forget it. Okay. All right.
I am not staying with you.
And not staying with you. You are not putting your hair up. Okay, so yeah. That's okay. What you wish is true for you. Nor is it possible that you can wish for something and lack faith that something is so. So if you want something, then you're going to believe that it's possible.
Yeah.
If you want something. So if you want to see guilt or lack in somebody else, if you want to see somebody else as being worse off than you by comparison,
you'll perceive it.
Then you'll believe that it's so. Mm-hmm. You'll believe that's possible. Whatever you want to be true, you will believe is possible.
It's interesting.
Whenever you wish for something.
While you were out today, I was reading the old story about, the Israelites going through the wilderness, and they were sent off into the promised land, which is symbolic of God's promise. God promised a land that flowed with milk and honey, you could say, as a symbol of abundance. Mm-hmm. And what happened? The whole group went out, and this whole group comes back. They sent out spies in the land, and only 2 out of the whole group came back with a different report than all the others. And all the others, the report that they came back with was, there's giants in the land, and they're going to bring harm to us. In other words, they already went into the land with the intention, the belief that it's not going to be good. Mm-hmm. And what they were seeking, they found. They found giants in the land. Mm-hmm. While Joshua and Caleb, they came back, and not only did they not recognize that as being a threat, they thought the giants would be helpful to them, that they would bless their community. But they brought back fruits from the land showing, look at, it's just like God said, but they were looking intentionally for what they were seeking, for what God said. And that's what we need to learn to do, is to learn to be looking through our spiritual eyes that we're going to be given to see what God said is there.
Right, exactly. So we'll be wanting to see what really is there to see.
Right.
And the only thing that really is there to see is whatever God has created as reality, which according to A Course in Miracles is only love and only abundant and only eternal. So Course in Miracles is reminding us of what there is to ask for, to wish for, that is real and true and lasting. That, like we said, what God has already given us.
And because we're temporarily in this dream, we're wanting to see something that we really don't want.
Exactly. That's right.
And we're going to find it.
That's right.
Thinking we're going to find it.
And what my true self, my loving self, wants is the opposite of what my ego wants.
Right. That's why it's still and calm and restful, because it just wants to find
whatever it is already,
the good, the beautiful, and the holy.
Exactly. Our true self knows that we don't have to go find anything.
Right.
That we were created containing everything forever.
Already.
Our real self, that's why our real self is calm.
Right.
It's not like, I gotta go get,
I
gotta go get some
I
gotta
peace.
go accomplish something. I gotta go get something. I gotta go struggle to survive.
I gotta find some joy.
I gotta go
They got a sale on it at Walmart today.
Exactly. I gotta go find and get and possess some love. That's what, and because your fake self, your ego self, is a self that believes that you don't have love in you and that you're not love.
Right.
And so that means you got to go find that love and get it and hope that you're able to possess it and hope that you're able to hold on to it,
Nobody steals it from you.
Exactly. So that's so your special self, your ego, is the self that does not believe that perfect love is in you, and it sees itself as weak, vulnerable, and vicious and afraid, and needs to go take love, peace, joy, abundance from others.
Right.
That's our special self, our ego.
That little ego.
Little ego.
Not who we really are.
Yes. But if that's what you want, then that's what you will see, and that's what you will think you have found. Because wishing, it says, what you wish for is true for you. Nor is it possible that you can wish for something and lack faith that that something is so. Why? Because wishing makes real, as surely as does will create. So when you're wishing for something, it makes it seem real out of your desire for it to be true. That's what wishing does. Wishing makes something seem real, even if it's not.
So if I wish that my brothers and sisters were not like me,
that they be different,
and
less than,
and of course be guilty somehow,
right, less than,
then when I go out in my day, I'm gonna find that wishing makes real. So
that's right.
I'm gonna find the guilt that I'm wishing for, and then it shows up, and then I'm like, oh,
and you're like,
can you believe that person at the store?
Can you believe
the way
that?
they talk to me?
I cannot believe that. Right, as if they just showed up out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere.
That's right.
We have no connecting the dots yet.
Yes,
to what's happening.
Exactly. We don't we don't yet perceive cause and effect relationships.
Oh.
We look at what's out there and we go, oh, look, that's the cause.
That person's rude.
Yeah. They made me feel angry.
Yeah.
They upset me. Not realizing that that's just the effect,
Yeah.
and the cause is what we're looking for.
Yeah. The cause is I was wishing for somebody to be rude.
Yeah.
Why? Because it would make me feel better about myself.
Exactly.
Because I was rude the other day.
I was looking to see somebody as little and less than me so that I could feel big and elevated by comparison.
Yeah.
That's why.
More righteous and proud.
Exactly.
I was feeling a little low about myself lately.
Exactly. So
I need some rudeness to come along.
So I need somebody that I can see as beneath me,
Right.
less than me, so that and then surprise, there they are.
Or someone broker than me. And
yes.
in this day and age, it's getting harder and harder to find.
Exactly. But wish makes
And you'll
real.
find it.
So,
Yep.
And the reason that it says, and the power of a wish upholds illusions. The power of a wish upholds delusions just as strongly as does love extend itself, except that one of those things deludes and the other one of those things heals. So a wish deludes and love heals.
The wish that we're not the same upholds the lie. That's what the illusion is. It upholds the lie because it seems to present the evidence of, see, look at this evidence. We're not the same. I'd never be rude like that.
That's right.
We're not the same. How dare them? And so the wish upholds the lie. And as strongly as does love extend itself. So let's not forget that part either.
Exactly. And so there's the two things. So the real you, all it does is extend love to other parts of itself.
Recognizing it as the equal and the same.
Your ego, all your ego does is wish for things that aren't true and then sees them.
That's different.
And sees those things as true. You
Right.
know. The real you, all it does is it loves whomever it sees as a part of itself. The ego wishes that they were less than so that it can feel better than.
Right.
And it sees that evidence.
Right.
Okay. So you can tell which self you're identifying with at any point in time, according to what you're seeing. All right.
And one of them deludes while the other one heals. You know, working on recognizing each other as the same is healing.
Yes, as equal.
Right.
And practicing seeing others as equal to you and as a part of you, you know, is really what it means to say, I love you.
Right.
You know, I see us as connected. I see us as related. I see you as a part of me. And because of that, I love you. You know, that's how your true self sees others. It just loves whomever it sees.
Right.
You know, because it knows that everyone that it meets is a part of it and equal to it and a brother or sister to you because you have the same creator.
Right. And you're connected.
Right. Okay. Well, and it says, but then there's the other self, the special self, the ego. And it says, and there is no dream of specialness, which means differences. We're different, we're not connected, we're not one. There is no dream of specialness, differences, however hidden or disguised in form, however lovely that specialness may seem to be, however much that specialness is delicately offers the hope of peace and the escape from pain, in which you don't suffer your condemnation.
Mm-hmm.
So remember that our true self, all it does is see a beloved, beautiful equal. Okay? And it says, but your ego, all it sees is we're different, we're not equal, and it believes that this relationship where we're not equal, we're not one, the ego believes that kind of relationship offers the hope of peace and the escape from pain. Beautiful. Hi, Demi. He says, FB wasn't picking up stream.
Yeah, that's what we were saying. It wasn't.
Right, interesting.
Yeah, it wasn't showing.
Let me check.
Public.
You are live. Edit. And let's see, what's the problem?
Is there a way to take that schedule for later button off?
No.
No.
Let me see here. Let me try, I suppose. Interesting.
No,
so I wonder.
And that schedule is not a different thing?
No, it's not different. Scheduled. Stream is already live. You can't change start time. Okay. Well, thank you, Demi, for letting us know.
Thanks for laying it.
And I wonder, can you
I tried
post
going on there,
from?
I couldn't.
Oh, you don't see us on there. I wonder what's going on. Thank you.
Which is strange because
I'm going to do this. Maybe that'll help. Cancel. Remove.
That's the last posting is what you.
Okay. I just tried something. Let's see if that makes any kind of difference. Thank you, Demi. And what about now? It says we are, but okay. It says we're live. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Okay, we'll see. Still so more to learn. Still so much to learn. Okay. Good to know. All right. So it says, there is no dream of a special relationship where we're not equals. There is no dream of a special relationship, however hidden or disguised the special relationship's form, however lovely that special relationship may seem to be, however much the ego relationship delicately offers the hope of peace and the escape from pain, in which you don't suffer your condemnation. So, in a special relationship, in an ego-based relationship, where it's not about we are equal love, it's about getting some love. It says there's no ego relationship you could be in, no matter how much of a grand fantasy you have, where it's going to make you happy, where you don't actually experience your condemnation. Okay, so we've heard about the two different types of relationship. One is a relationship where I see you as my equal, and I see us as both equal love. I see myself as only love. I see you as only love. I see us as connected, and I don't have the need or desire to take or get anything from you.
Right.
Okay? That's the holy relationship that we experience when we are experiencing our true self. Okay. The special relationship is where I don't see love within me, and I am looking outside of myself to find and get and take and possess that love. And it's saying here that no matter no matter how grand the fantasy is that I'm going to find that love outside of myself, no matter how much that fantasy of finding love outside of myself, no matter how grand and beautiful that fantasy is, that in that relationship it's impossible that I experience anything but my own condemnation. So we got the two different types of relationships based on which self I'm identifying with.
Yeah, my true self, you can see why it's so still, why it's so calm, because it doesn't need to do anything. It doesn't need to go out and
Exactly.
and take or control.
That's right. And no matter how delicately the special relationship, I found the perfect one, this person will complete me, this is my soulmate, no matter how delicately the special relationship of love outside yourself seems to offer this amazing fantasy, like I finally found the one. He says that in any relationship where you see the love outside of you, that is a relationship you're going to experience only your own condemnation. Because love is not outside of you. Love isn't outside of you in another that you got to find and get and keep. Love is what you are.
Right.
Love is what your true self is. Love is my true self. Okay? But my fake self doesn't know that I am only love, so it's telling me I got to seek for love outside of myself. And it tells me when I find the right one who has the love and wants to give it to me, now I can be happy. And that's the fantasy that our ego is delicately offering us. Yeah. When I just find the right one or the right thing or the right place, then I'll be happy, I'll experience happiness and love. But any relationship in which I'm seeking love for outside of myself and another, that's a relationship where I'm only going to experience my own condemnation. Okay? It says, in the special relationship, effect and cause are interchanged. Because in the special ego relationship, the maker of the special relationship believes that what they made is happening to them.
Yeah, they don't realize they're the cause. And so they're just responding to the effect as if it was the cause.
That's right. Exactly. And that's, so in the special relationship, then I don't realize that I'm causing what is happening in this relationship.
By not already evaluating, I'm not even believing coming into the door of our relationship that we're equals, that we're the same, that we're connected, that we're joined. And so I'm going to find what I'm looking for. And then it's going to smack me in the face.
And it's going to seem to be happening to
and it's
you.
going to seem to be happening to me.
And you're going to feel like a victim.
And it was what I requested. Because it was what I wished for. It's what I'm seeking.
That's right. To seek for love or happiness in a person, place, or thing outside of you really is to condemn yourself. It's really to say, love is not within me. I'm not love.
Right.
And well, that's a self-condemnation. I'm not love. I am not love, and so I got to go find some love, and then I got to figure out how to possess it and keep it.
Right.
And all you're going to experience there is your own condemnation. That's you condemning yourself and saying, I'm not love. I am weak, vicious, vulnerable, and unloving. So,
okay. And high light upon light. I'm glad you could catch a live too. And hi, Bridget.
Yeah.
Thanks for your communication, Demi. Appreciate you.
Thanks for letting us know on that one. So I'm not sure what's going on there, but okay, wonderful. So now then it says in the special relationship where you've denied that perfect love is you and you're looking for love outside of you, which really means you're condemning yourself, in that special relationship, you do not realize that you have picked a thread from here, a scrap from there, and wove a picture of this relationship out of nothing.
Right.
It's like, where you've built a fantasy relationship in your mind. You're not really dealing with that person or that relationship as it is. You've created this fantasy of who this person is and what they should be and what they should do for you and the relationship that you should be having.
Yeah, they're going to fulfill me because I'm confessing I'm not already fulfilled. They're going to give me what I'm lacking because I'm confessing that I'm lacking. I'm
not good enough.
That's what the special relationship is all about.
Exactly. And in the special relationship where you don't see yourself as love and equal in love to everyone else, the only other thing you can do is create a fantasy around that person and a fantasy of that relationship.
Of getting.
Exactly. A fantasy that is, this is what I wish that's going to enable me to get what I want, that I don't already have and am not already being.
Right.
Right. And so in the special relationship, the parts do not belong together, and the whole contributes nothing to the parts to give them meaning. Okay? So that's what we do in the special relationship. We're just picking a thread from here, a scrap from there, and weaving a fantasy. But the parts of that fantasy that we've created in this special relationship, they don't even go together. It's like, I was just like, okay, if they have brown hair, that's a part. And if they're smart, that's another part. Okay, I'm going to pull this. And if they're tall, I'm picking a thread from here and a scrap from there, and I'm weaving this fantasy. If they're just tall enough, smart enough, they're rich enough, they're whatever. And then I've woven together this fantasy of who they are and what they should be doing and what our relationship should be. It's a total fantasy.
Right.
Total fantasy that has no connection to who they really are in reality.
Which is the same as you.
And that's exactly, which is totally equal. They have exactly what I have, and I have exactly what they have. We're totally equal, And
imagine if that became our fantasy, where we're just weaving a part of how they're equal this way, how they're the same like this, how they're in our same likeness like this, how they're in the same image as us like that, which is how God does it.
Exactly, and that would mean we were just accepting reality.
Right.
With the ego, it's like the ego is the denial of reality as God established it. And so when we're identifying with our ego, then all we can do is if we're not going to be just accepting reality as God established it, we got to make some shit up.
Yeah.
We got to make stuff up. We've got to create some fantasies. If we're identifying with our true self, we don't have to do anything. It's already all done. We've already been given everything. All we have to do is just accept it and enjoy that we've already been given everything because we're created as everything. So when you're identifying with your true self, you don't have to do anything. That's why your true self is still.
Right.
You don't have to figure anything out or make something up or go get something or figure something out or, struggle to survive. You don't have to, when you're identifying with your true self, you don't have to go find love. You just be love.
You just enjoy the love that you already have.
Exactly. And then you extend it.
Yeah. Right.
So when you're identifying with your true self, you're just extending love to everyone who is a part of you. And that's why you're still, because you don't have to be doing anything. You're just enjoying, appreciating what you are and extending that love. So those are the those are the two experiences and the two kinds of relationship depending on which self you're identifying with. So I would rather have a relationship where I don't have to be making up fantasies and trying to get you to fulfill that fantasy. Like, here's my fantasy of the perfect man, and now I'm going to control you so that you will be and fit that fantasy. That's a lot of work. That is the opposite of stillness.
For both of us.
Exactly. That's the opposite of
us.
stillness. Right, exactly. It's a lot of work to try to weave a fantasy around somebody and then to try to put all the effort to control them to fit your fantasy. That is exhausting.
Mm-hmm.
And it never results in love. It only results in, you're not fulfilling my fantasy.
And resentment from the other person. You're not allowing them to just be.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
To be still.
That's right. Exactly.
As you should be.
That's right. Exactly. Listen, you can't be still. I got some fantasies about you that you need to be working on.
Me too, baby.
Oh.
I want to show you.
Oh, well, that's not part of my fantasy.
I want to show you this little school teacher out after class.
Uh-huh. Well, that wasn't me fulfilling your fantasy. Was not part of my fantasy.
Oh, what?
Yeah, when I was like weaving a fantasy around you,
It was different than
it did
mine.
not include what you might want what fantasy you might want me to fulfill.
Oh, so a clash of the fantasies.
Exactly.
A clash of the specialnesses.
Exactly. And he said that's why in the special relationship, both of you experience is your own self-condemnation.
Right.
Because,
it's not going to work.
Nobody can fulfill a fantasy.
And what is self-condemnation but self-destruction of your own happiness, peace, and joy?
Very good. Exactly. He says, the truth is that your happiness and your peace and your love can never come from weaving a fantasy around a person in a relationship and then trying to control them to get the love from them. Okay? Mm-hmm. Peace and love and joy will never come from a special relationship, a special person who you see as different and having something you don't have, like love, that you're now going to get it from. Okay, happiness, peace, love, and joy will never come from that. And it says, and where could your peace arise but from forgiveness?
Paragraph 3.
Thank you, paragraph 3. Thank you. I love it. Light upon light says it's exhausting, in fact.
Yeah, trying to control each other.
It's exhausting. And you're never happy because since nobody can give you love from outside yourself, nobody can give you the love you don't have. And so you're always going to be frustrated, and you're always going to be angry, and you're always going to be condemning them for not...
Because it doesn't work.
Exactly. And so you'll always be condemning them for not making you happy. And so it's going to be exhausting, and you'll never experience love that way. As a matter of fact, then it goes on to say the only place where love and peace and joy can arise is actually from forgiveness. So it's interesting that that's where real happiness comes from. That's where real peace comes from. Not anyone changing themselves to fit your fantasy. I mean, if that was going to work, we'd all be blissed out all the time.
And forgiveness is but what? To change your perspective.
Yes.
And now my perspective has changed from, okay, I can have peace and happiness and joy if I change my perspective of realizing it doesn't come from without me. Mm-hmm. I already have it.
Yes, I am it.
And before we get on down the road with a million questions of, well, if I already had it in me, why aren't I happy? Mm-hmm. First we have to figure out what's been keeping us from our happiness. Mm-hmm. Recognize the error And then we can get it corrected and get back to the way it's supposed to be.
That's right. And so another way you could say that is, where could your peace arise but from your correct perception of yourself?
And where it comes from.
Exactly. And it already told us the correct perception of ourself earlier, which is a self that is already complete and having all the love and being only love. So where can your peace and love really come from except recognizing yourself as God created you as love, not needing love, but as only love forever. So our peace and all the love and peace and joy that we've been trying to get from other people in what the Course calls a special relationship is really comes from, or really, notice it says it arises. It arises within us. So the love we've all been seeking outside of us is really something that arises within us when we see ourselves as God created us, as we are in truth. Okay. And then the relationships you have, once your correct perception of your real self arises in your own awareness, the relationships you have are totally satisfying. Because all you're doing in those relationships is extending the love you are. So they're all satisfying.
Right.
Right. So it's like if I'm just loving you because I am love, that's all I can do, then where's going to be the stress in that relationship? You know?
And where am I going to be trying to take and get?
Exactly. And that's what the stress is from. The stress in our relationship is coming because we're trying to get something. We're trying to control them to fit our fantasy that has nothing to do with who they really are or what love really is. And that's where the stress comes from. I'm trying to get something from without, outside of myself, that I can't get from without.
Right.
You know what I've been trying. Thinking I can, and then hurting my brother in my effort to try to get something from without that I can't. Okay, beautiful. So it says, so where could your peace, love, and joy arise but from correct perception of your true self? And your true self looks only on the truth. Your true self, all it does, your true self ain't trying to go get the love it don't have. All your true self is doing is looking on the truth. Which means all your real true self is doing is seeing no condemnation that could need forgiveness.
Right.
That's what your true self is seeing. Because it's not looking to get love from without.
Not looking for differences.
Exactly.
Sometimes we give ourselves love because if I look for condemnation in Anna, belittle her, then it's like loving myself because I feel better about me now. But
it seems like you're loving yourself.
Yeah.
It seems like you're loving. It seems like you're able to love yourself when you elevate yourself above.
Right.
That's what our fake self.
Because you're making yourself feel better, look better.
Right, exactly.
You're giving yourself some love.
So we're confusing making ourselves feel better with love.
With condemnation.
Right, exactly. With condemnation. We're confusing making ourselves feel better with putting others down.
Yeah, and sees no condemnation that could need forgiveness. We only need forgiveness when we trip. When you trip, you need help.
That's right.
And we trip when we give condemnation to our brothers and sisters, thinking that they're not the same as us. That's how you give condemnation.
That's right.
You're not the same as me. You're always late. You're always interrupting me. You're always doing this. Condemnation. which is because I have a wish before I ever you even walked in the door and did whatever you always late did to me. I had a wish to be different, to be separate. I want my individuality.
Like we had a wish to be better.
And to be better, to be elevated above the rest of the stars of heaven.
Yeah.
And because of that wish, I need to find somebody to accept some littleness.
That's right. But the real us, all it sees is love.
Yep, and
it's like
the truth.
All it sees is the truth, which is the love.
Which doesn't see any condemnation.
Exactly. And so our real self doesn't see anything that could need forgiveness.
Or
because there's nothing to condemn.
Yeah.
You know, the only time I condemn is when I'm trying to get something and they don't want to give it to me. The only time I condemn is when I had a fantasy of what I wanted you to be, and then you're not conforming to it.
Right.
That's the only time I condemn.
Right.
It's like, you're not being the fantasy that I want you to be. You're not giving me the love that I'm trying to get from you. And so now I'm going to condemn you. Now I'm going to give you guilt. You know. But the real me isn't trying to get anything, so it doesn't see any need to condemn anything.
That piece I was writing today, journaling today, another big part of it is talking about how the Course in Miracles defines the word problem. And the word problem, according to the Course in Miracles, is seeing something that's not there. And we're always looking for condemnation, for something that's not there, inequality. We're looking for something that isn't there.
Yeah.
And that's what, condemnation is. But our true self only looks on truth. It doesn't look, our true self is not looking for what's not there.
It's looking for what is there.
It's looking for what isn't there. Our true self doesn't need to have what it's looking at be corrected, to be forgiven, to have to be healed or fixed. Because it's not looking for differences. It's not looking for how I can be separated from Anna.
Right.
How I can be elevated by putting her down or finding ways to correct her.
Yeah, because your true self already sees you as complete and whole, not needing to be elevated.
Right.
Your true self doesn't see itself as so small that it needs to make itself bigger.
By making something else less.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
I will be great because you will be less.
That's right. And that is the motto of the special relationship.
Right.
In the special relationship, we want to see them as less than or worse than because it makes us feel bigger by comparison. Greater by comparison. And so in the special relationship, we're looking for littleness in the other. We're looking for guilt in the other person.
Right.
And because it makes us feel better about ourselves. But we say, I'm looking for love.
Right.
But if you identify with your ego, you're going to feel little and weak and vulnerable. And you can't feel little, weak, and vulnerable and not seek to make yourself bigger or better by comparison.
Right.
Like, you can't see yourself as little and not seek to see littleness in others to make yourself feel bigger.
Right.
So you're in a special relationship, you're looking for that which you could condemn and compare yourself to.
Right, because it's what you've been seeking.
But you say, I'm looking for love.
Yeah, and you feel like that relationship hurt you because after all, look what they did, those you-know-whats. But I was seeking to elevate myself to begin with.
Because I felt so little.
And I had to find somebody that I could, stand on their shoulders.
Exactly, that I could knock down
Yeah.
and see them as less than.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And then I finally found them, and then I was offended by them.
Exactly.
And they're like, wait a minute.
You...
Weren't you looking for me to satisfy your need of seeing differences and
elevating
seeing yourself as
yourself
greater than?
That's right. So that's what you're looking for in the special relationship. That's all that our ego wants, you know, is our ego's looking for guilt in others so that it can condemn them and feel bigger, greater by comparison, even though we say, I'm looking for love. Okay, so it says, but the real you is just looking, it looks only on the truth, which means it looks on the love, and your true self, the Christ in you, sees no condemnation that could even need forgiveness. Your true self is at peace because your real self sees no sin.
In other words, what's sin again? Sin is the belief in a problem.
In guilt.
That's what sin is, a belief in a problem. And so if I see my brother and sister and I see a perceived problem, I am now dabbling with sin because
you're perceiving sin.
I'm perceiving error, which is what sin is.
Right. So now if you identify, let's see, so your true self is at peace because your true self doesn't see any guilt in another person. Why? It doesn't have any grievances because it's not trying to get. So your real self doesn't see any guilt because your real self isn't trying to get. Because your real self knows it is love, it don't need to go out and get some love. And that's why your real self doesn't see any sin or any guilt. The sin and guilt we see in others is coming from our intent to get something from them, or to our attempts to get to control them to fulfill our fantasy, which is an attempt to get. So only when I'm trying to get am I mad.
Right.
It's like, how dare you not let me control you to fulfill my fantasy? How dare you not let me get from you? And now we're angry, and now we see sin and guilt in them. It's such a projection, you know. There's not guilt in them. We're seeing them as guilty because of what we're trying to get from them. So, yeah.
As Zach said, let me recognize that my problem's been solved.
Exactly.
It was solved before there was a problem because there never was a problem to begin with.
That's
because
right.
There never was any error in my brothers. So the problem's already been solved. That's
exactly right. And I love how Demi says that the special relationship, that's attachment, not love. Right? It's an intent to get something you don't have. And then we call it love if we're like, ooh, that person has what I don't have, what I want to get. We call that love. We call it a match made in heaven. And when both people see something in the other person they don't have, and they both see that in the other person, we call it a match made in heaven. When it's really a match made in hell. You know, both people see themselves lacking love and see that love in that person. Okay? When it happens with both people, it seems like it's a match made in heaven. Okay. But if you identify with the Christ in you, then what do they have that you don't have? So if you identify with the Christ in you, then what has they that you don't have? What does the Christ have that you don't have? Okay.
Well,
if you identify with the Christ in you.
If you identify
with the Christ,
the innocence, the equalness in the other, if you identify with that in them, then what do they have that you don't have?
Exactly. Specialness is they have something I don't have.
You're not equal.
We're not equal. You know, you've got the love and I don't have the love. That's what specialness is. That's what the ego is. That's what the ego believes. Okay. And so And so when you identify with your true self, then what they have, you have, and what you have, they have.
Right.
Now,
if we identify with our false self, then we're going to identify with differences.
Exactly.
We're going to see how we're not equal.
And we're going to...
That's the telltale.
Yeah.
That's the giveaway of who we're identifying with.
That's right.
Is I'm perceiving that we're not the same. And to those that are asleep, they're not aware of what they're doing.
Right.
To us that are awakening, we're taking these lessons and putting them into application in our week. Of, oh, I just caught myself. Even if you drove away a half hour later, but you finally realized, oh, I was seeing myself as different than that other person.
Right.
And I still think we're different, but the true self in me doesn't go off of that. It goes off of what's true.
Exactly. That's right. Which is that we both have equally the same, we both equally have the love, the peace, the joy, right? The special relationship is where they have something I don't have, and now I got to get it. But I'm calling it love. But it isn't love. I'm seeing us as different. Seeing you as having something I don't have. Right. Okay. Beautiful. Hi, Tricia. She says, I am here. Beautiful. And Bridget says, my peace and love comes from me. Exactly. Okay. So, this talk now is saying something interesting like, what if you were to start identifying with your true self, the Christ in you? Okay? So that's the goal here, is for us to start identifying with our true self, the Christ in us, that is only love forever and has everything that everybody else has, and to identify with our true self instead of identifying with our egos. We used to identify with our egos and feel all kinds of lack of love and lack within ourself. And then we're obsessed about who had it that we could take it from. Okay, so he's saying, so if you identify with the Christ in you, your true self, which is already only love, then now the Christ in you is your eyes. Now the Christ in you is your ears. If you identify with the Christ in you, now the Christ is your hands, and now the Christ is your feet. When you identify with the Christ in you.
Your true self.
Your true self. The one that already is love and has love forever and doesn't need to get it or take it from another.
And the one that is equal to all others.
Exactly.
And where does that come from? How do you identify? Is by a desire and a wish. We used to have a desire and a wish. We'd go out in our day to find differences in one another. And now we have a desire and wish to not look to seek for differences. Where are we the same? That becomes my new desire, my new wish.
That's right.
And because it's my wish and desire, what were we told will happen? Is it will appear. It will become my hands, my feet, my eyes, because they will begin to witness the manifestation of what I desire. If I'm not seeing us the same, it's still showing me the residue of my old past thinking.
That's right. I'm still identifying with my ego.
Right. And so that's all that's happening. And when I'm aware of that, I'm like, oh, I'm seeing us as different, as not the same, as not equal.
Right.
And I can stop for a moment. And what does that do? That doesn't make me still or calm or at peace. That gets me racing. Oh, I got to do something about it.
Oh, yeah. Exactly. Got to do something.
Yeah, but if I recognize, oh, we're the same.
Yeah, I have what they have. Yeah, I have
then
what
I don't
have.
need
They
to
have.
do anything.
Right.
I'm at peace. I'm at rest. My mind is calm. It's still.
Exactly. When you accept that you have all the love and they have all the love, there is no lack of love in you. Now, what do you have to do? You don't have to go, be busy trying to get and trying to make things happen, trying to make things up, trying to get your needs met.
Right.
That's a lot of work.
A lot of effort.
A lot of
That's
effort.
Exhausting.
It's a lot of busyness. Exactly. That's why the Course in Miracles says that if you could for just a moment accept that you need do nothing, because there's nothing that you lack. You already are complete. You already have everything. You already are all the love. So for just one moment of accepting, I don't have to do anything. I need do nothing. He says that you accomplish more than you would have accomplished in 100 years of meditating and trying to detach from the body. Just
pretty good.
One moment of acceptance of I need do nothing, you accomplish more than if you had meditated for 100 years trying to detach from your body. Wow.
One moment of seeing us as the same.
Yes, exactly. Meaning all that you have is all that I have, is all that God has. So when you, as you begin identifying with your true self, your self that is only love
and
equal to all, then all of a sudden, your hands and eyes and ears and feet become Christ's, the Christ in you. All of a sudden, your body becomes love's body. When you identify with love, instead of trying to seek out and get some love, then now then your body becomes love's body. How awesome is that? My body is love's body. My body is now being used by love because I identify with love now. So I used to be out seeking for love and trying to control for love, but now I'm identifying as love. I'm identifying with love. So that's my new pronoun, love. I'm identifying as love. I used to identify as a woman. As different. And now I'm identifying as love. That is my identity.
Somebody says, well, what's that? And you go, well, that's the same as you.
Exactly.
Love is equal.
That's right.
Love is the same. Love means the same likeness, the same image.
You are only love, and I am only love. You don't need to go get the love, and I don't need to get love from you, and you don't need to get love from me. And when we don't need to get love from each other, we stop condemning each other and giving each other guilt. Because all the guilt is I'm trying to control you so that I can take the love from you while making it look like I love you.
Right.
That's what all my condemnation of them is. It's like, I'm trying to get something from you, so you need to act a certain way, and if you don't, now I'm going to condemn you. All right. Beautiful. Tricia says, breathe in, I need, do, breathe out, nothing. Very nice. And Tricia says, bloody amen. I love it. Okay, great. So when you start identifying as love and only love, now your body becomes love's body. Now your body is going to be used by love instead of your body being used by the ego, instead of your body being used to get. So I don't want my body to be a getting mechanism anymore. I want my body to be a touchstone to love. So that when people see my body, hear my body, touch my body, all they're touching, hearing, seeing is love. instead of my body being a trap. If I'm not identifying as love, then when people come near me, then my body's going to be a trap, like the Venus flytrap, where if I don't see myself as love, all I'm going to be doing is trying to get love. And so anybody comes by and be like, like a Venus flytrap, right? What the Course calls it, a love snatcher. We're trying to snatch love guiltily from where you thought it was. You're trying to snatch love by giving guilt, thinking if I just make you feel guilty enough, you're going to give me the love. Okay? So I want my body now to be a touchstone to love. I want love to use my body to be my eyes, my ears, my hands, my feet. That's beautiful. And then how beautiful the hand that holds your brothers and your sisters. So Christ is using your hands to hold your brother's hand. How beautiful now are your hands.
And the eyes.
Exactly. And the eyes.
How gentle.
Oh, yes. Thank you. Right. And so now love is your eyes. Now love is your ears. Now love is your hands. Now love uses your feet. And how gentle are the sights that love sees through your eyes.
Not condemning, not seeing unequal.
How gentle are the sounds that your ears hear. Now that Christ is using your ears. And how beautiful are your hands, Christ's hands, that are now holding your brothers and sisters' hands, and how lovingly the Christ in you walks beside them, showing them what can be seen and what can be heard, and showing you where you will see nothing, and showing you where there is no sound to hear. So that's how the Christ in you uses your body when you have begun to identify as the Christ in you. Okay, so that's what happens when you're letting the Christ in you use your body for others. So I want the real me to use my body to extend love to everyone, instead of my ego using my body to get and to take love for me. Okay? Now, so that's what happens. In other words, your body becomes beautiful. The sights you see become beautiful. The sounds you hear become beautiful. The hands that hold your brothers become beautiful. Your body becomes beautiful because love is using your body to extend love to others. But what about when you're using your body to get love? You're not letting love use your body. What about when your ego is using your body to get?
Well, it's not beautiful anymore.
No, what's going to happen? It then tells us what's going to happen if we're not doing, where we're not identifying with the Christ in us, and not now love isn't using our body. The other option is, but if you let your specialness direct their way, meaning others, if you let your desire to get love because you don't think you are love direct their way, then you're going to follow that way, that specialness way, which means you're both going to be walking in danger. Okay. And what does that mean to be both of you walking in danger? Because you both will be intent in the dark forest of the sightless, the dark forest unlit but by the shifting tiny gleams that spark an instant from the fireflies of sin, then go out. So you're going to be both walking in danger, leading each other to a nameless precipice and hurling each other over that nameless precipice. When you let your ego direct their way.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm not identifying with the Christ in me. I'm identifying with my ego, and now all I can do in my relationships is lead the other people in the dark forest of fear to a nameless precipice and push them over it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're doing with each other in our ego relationships.
Yep.
You know, we're not in our, it's like when I'm identifying with my ego, it's not about just extending the love that I am and that we are. It's about getting the love. And then once I think I've gotten that love, and then what do? Push the other person over the cliff.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how we feel sometimes in our relationships. It's like, you just threw me under the bus. You just threw me over a cliff. Which is all you can do when you are letting your specialness, your inequality, lead and direct their way.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like when I am not identifying with love and feeling like there's a lack of love within me, now my need to get some love and my feeling that we're unequal because you got the love and I don't, now I'm going to use my lack of love within me to direct your way.
Right.
So now from my ego...
Which is going to kill me from being me.
Exactly. It's going to kill you for being you.
Which is what the next sentence is talking about.
Exactly.
For what can specialness, the desire to control the other person,
yes,
delight in, but to kill.
Exactly.
And when you're not allowing the other person to be themselves, trying to control them, trying to get from them, trying to debase them, to elevate yourself, then that's what the ego's delight is in killing.
That's right. That's what killing is when you are trying to control others to get something from them.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you don't get satisfied and experience love from that, then you condemn them. You try to hurt them. You know, throw them over a cliff, throw them under the bus, you know. And so Light Upon Light says, yep, how else can I understand the violence that occurs in the relationships, like domestic violence? Well, this is the perfect way to understand domestic violence, or the violence that occurs in relationships. The violence occurs in relationships when both people don't identify as love. They feel like love is not within them, and they've got to take it from another person.
Which you're not going to be able to fulfill.
Which you're not going to be able to do, which ends up in condemnation, which is attack.
And creates the rage and the hate.
Which creates the rage and the hate that then expresses itself in violence. So it's the domestic violence is when we have let our littleness, our perception of our littleness, direct their way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, which then leads us both in a dark forest to a nameless precipice where we hurl each other over it. You know, so that explains it perfectly to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where does violence in relationships come from? Right. Now, then it says, like you were reading, for what can my littleness, my specialness, my littleness, what can my littleness delight in but to kill? That's right. When I feel little and incomplete, like love isn't in me, of course, what am I going to delight in but when I can take it from another? Which is, and killing is like the metaphor for that. And what does the littleness in me, my ego, seek for but the sight of death? Okay. What does the ego delight in but the sight of death? What's the ego looking for? Death. Because what's the ego looking for? Lack.
Mm-hmm.
Because the ego is a belief in not enough. I don't have the love within me. The ego is a belief in lack of love.
Yeah, it's like I'll have life if I snuff out your life.
That's right.
Take it.
It's exactly right.
I'll have happiness if I can control you and change you and make you unhappy.
Exactly. That's what the ego delights in.
Right.
Taking from another what it doesn't feel that it has.
And it's an illusion because it never works.
Mm-hmm.
You can't get good from bad.
That's right.
You can't get light from darkness. You can't get life from taking life from somebody
Exactly.
else, from killing somebody else, taking their joy
That's right.
and their happiness, and think that the net result is you're going to get happiness, but they're not going to be happy.
Right.
Again, now we've lost sight of we're equal. It's impossible that you not be happy and me be happy, but it's wholly possible that we both share in joy and happiness.
Exactly. And the goal here is to find and discover the Christ in us, our true self.
The calm self.
Yeah, the self in us that already knows it is love, and it doesn't need to find love and to take love and to possess love and to hurt somebody who doesn't want to give it to us, who doesn't want to give us the specialness. So that's the goal here, so that we can have relationships that are not about metaphorically killing each other. It's like if I don't believe the love is in me, then I need for you to give it to me, which means I need you to not be yourself so that you can make me feel loved, and so really it's like I need you to kill yourself. I need you to sacrifice yourself and give that self to me. I need you to sacrifice your true self to give it to me so I can feel good enough. That's a special relationship, and that's a ritual of death. Don't be yourself, kill yourself, and then give that yourself to me so that I can feel good enough. That's death. That's attack. Okay. So, in other words, what does specialness lead to but destruction? What does you identifying with your ego lead to but destruction? What does identifying with something besides the Christ in you lead to but destruction? That's right. If you don't see yourself as good enough, you know what's going to happen in your relationships? Destruction. If you don't see yourself as love, if you don't see yourself as having love, then you're going to be going out looking for it to take it, and that's what leads to destruction. That is destruction. Yet, think not that your ego looked upon them first or hated them before your ego hated you. So before you looked at them and said, "You've done me wrong. You've betrayed me. You abandoned me. You're bad. You're guilty." Before your ego hated them and condemned them for how they failed you, you better believe your ego looked at you and hated you first.
It already had that wish and desire.
Exactly. And that's why your ego already hated you and hated you first, and that's why your ego then came to hate them,
right.
Seeing them as betray you
because
or hurt you.
The ego knows that by hating them will be the return experience that I get to hate myself.
Right.
And that's, the ego hates me, and the way it gets that revenge, that attack on me, is it gets me to hate my brother. And how do I hate my brother or sister? By trying to control them, trying to change them. If I didn't hate them, I wouldn't try to control or change them.
That's right.
I would just love the way they are right there.
That's exactly right.
All right.
And the only reason that you hated them and were trying to control them is because you were not identifying with your true self.
Right.
Which is only love.
Right. For yourself.
Right. And that's why whenever you are not perceiving yourself correctly, somebody else is going to have to pay. So whenever you've condemned yourself, you do not condemn yourself alone. If you've condemned yourself to be unloving and unlovable, then somebody else is going to have to pay for the lack you see in yourself. I don't like myself, but you're going to pay.
Right.
You're going to pay for how I hate myself.
Right. I'm not going to pay.
Right. I'm not going to pay for that. You're going to pay for that.
At least that's what I think.
Right. That's what I think.
Because we're equal and we're the same.
That's right.
All that I give unto you, I give unto myself.
Exactly. All right. So let's see what we want to do here.
I finished that last four, and that's it.
Yeah. How about we go to paragraph 6?
Okay.
And now we're gonna go back. We've been talking about our ego, and now we're gonna go back to talking about our true self, our self that knows that we already are love and only love forever, and we don't need to look for anything or search for anything or take or possess anything, and that all we want to do is just extend the love we are that they are too. Okay, so that part of us is very still. So notice how it says it again. Our true self is very still. Our true self, who knows itself as only love, that self, our true self, knows where you are going. Your true self knows where you are going, and your real self leads you there in gentleness and blessing, abundance, all the way. Your true self, your real self, its love for God replaces all the fear you thought you saw in you. Your true self's love for God replaces all the fear you thought you saw in you. Your true self's innocence shows you itself in them whose hand you hold and whom you lead to love. And what you now see is like yourself. For what but Christ is there to see and hear and love and follow home? The Christ in you looked upon you first, but recognized that you were not complete. And so the Christ in you, your true self, sought for your completion in every living thing that you behold and love, and your true self seeks it still, so that each one of these folks might offer you the love of God. This is what your true self is doing, just so you know.
Right.
Very different than what your ego's doing. Your ego's trying to find the love that it's sure you don't have, and it's condemning and guilting people and controlling them to get that love, and then punishes them when it doesn't work. Your true self, all it's doing is
that each might offer you the love of God.
Exactly.
Your true self in each relationship is offering you an experience to know the love of God.
Exactly.
Our ego is staying there at the doorway, like trying to create a roadblock, because our ego does not want us to know the love of God.
That's right.
And the only way it can do is to find condemnation in others, to see in others that we're not the same. It's all of it tactics to do one thing, to keep us barricaded from having an experience to know the love of God. We're going to know that experience, not because God's going to show up at our foot of our bed tonight in our room in the darkness and go, look. God's going to show up in our brothers and sisters, and it's going to manifest when we see them as the same as us, not needing to change them,
complete,
not needing to control them, not needing to take something from them so it will fulfill a lack in me, not needing to get my grubby hands off of them, and just let them be, accept them as they are, and be happy with that, that they're innocent just the way they are. And then all of a sudden, I miraculously have an experience with the love of God. I finally get to experience God's love.
And then it uses a word here for experiencing the love that you are, the love of God, the love you have, the love you are. And the word it uses is an experience of completion, where for you go like, oh my God, I am complete. I'm not needing something else. I'm not feeling like I've got to get something else. Like, can you imagine that feeling of actually feeling complete, where nothing's missing, nothing's lacking?
Which is a lot of the near-death experience skills that you read and watch.
That's right.
Is these people always feel complete. They didn't have something they needed to run back into the house and grab back on earth, because they're experiencing the love of God.
That's right.
The peace of God. And I just watched one this afternoon about a lady who died for over 3 minutes in her testimony. And that's what they all say. They don't want to come back because
they feel
they're
complete.
not lacking anything.
That's right.
They don't need anything.
They're not searching for love anymore.
They're complete.
Or happiness.
They're complete. They don't need to get.
Right.
They don't need to take. And that's where Spirit, the author of A Course in Miracles, our healing is trying to bring us back home to, is the memory and the remembrance that we're not lacking. We don't need anything. We bought into a lie that thinks we do, and because we think that, we wish that is true, and so we're going to go get the evidence that I need.
That we are lacking.
I need, and so I'm going to use my brothers and sisters to get.
That's right, which means destruction.
Getting campaign.
That's right.
Thank you, which is always destructive. Always destructive.
That's right. Whenever I see myself as lacking love, peace, or happiness, the result is going to be destruction, because I'm going to be now seeking it in them, which means trying to control them with guilt, which is a destructive energy.
Right.
That's destructive. When you try to control somebody with guilt to get something from them, that is destructive. Destructive of peace, destructive of connection, destructive of communication, and so our true self knows that love is in us, perfect, which means complete love is in us, and that because complete love is in us, that we are not lacking, and that perfect love that is within us, that's the love of God. The perfect love that's in me, that is the love of God. And so we're learning how to identify with our true self that knows that we are only love, and all it does is to extend love to people who are also only love. And then the result is the opposite of destruction. That now the result is blessing all the way home, which to me means a lot of abundance all the way home. So, all right. Well, there you go. We've heard about the two selves, that we have within us, only one of which is real, and how to tell the difference between when we are identifying with our true self, the Christ in us, the self as God created us, or our ego, our special self. So when you know when you can recognize the difference between the times when you're identifying with one or the other, then you can choose once again if you notice that you're identifying with your ego because of the results.
And you're right, Demi, that is another level when you can love somebody else to let them be with, if that includes you in the story or not.
That's right.
That's a whole nother level. But it's not just a whole nother level of how you treat someone else, the freedom you give them. It's a whole nother level of the freedom you literally give yourself.
That's right. Exactly. And when, to me, like what it means to be truly free is when I know that perfect love is in me. You know, if I have to go get and take,
become a dependent,
then now I'm dependent. I'm not free.
Right.
I'm not free at all. You know, I'm not free at all. Now I'm a slave to my need.
To people fulfilling.
I'm a slave. Now I'm dependent on them, you know, giving something to me, which means I'm dependent. I'm not free.
And God didn't make us, thankfully, dependent.
That's right. God didn't create us needing anything.
Yeah, needy beings. Yeah, I'm going to create all these needy beings.
Yeah, exactly. Who've got to go now fight to survive, to go get what they need. That would be that would make God a cruel psychopath. I'm going to create these beings, these beings who don't have what they need, so now they have to go out and fight to survive. They got to go find what they need to survive and fight to survive.
And if we're supposed to reflect the image and the likeness of God, then naturally God-likeness would not be needy. God is not needy. God isn't having to take from others to be fulfilled. I'm unfulfilled today, so I got to go out and get some taking done. You know, God's already complete.
That's right.
And we are being born, shaped in, and made in the image of God, which means we're learning that that's who we are. We don't need to take. And what a glorious day that will be when we finally come to this place where we truly experience and live that life of, I really do need do nothing.
I feel complete.
Yeah. And
can you imagine?
And recognize that it was said earlier that it's already been done.
Yeah.
It's already, I'm already
complete. I need do nothing. And so, for a practical application for this week, so next time you feel angry or hurt or betrayed, then remember that what's happening is not that they are abandoning, betraying, hurting you, taking from you. They're not attacking you. What's really going on is that you are not perceiving that love, that perfect love is in you. And so you're now thinking you've got to figure out how to get it, who to get it from, and then they never give it to you, right? So you're angry.
Right.
Now you feel like they're betraying or abandoning you. So next time you feel that anger, that grievance with another, remember that's just the effect of the cause of you not identifying with your true self. And that's you not accepting that complete love is in you now. You are love, and you don't need to get it, and you don't need to get anything to happen. And when you realize, hey, perfect love is already in me, I don't need to get, take, or find, then the grievance disappears. the upset, and then all the destructiveness that comes from that grievance disappears.
And it's not your job to figure out how that happens.
That's right.
It's our job to get ourselves right, our minds right, and then how does that go? Seek not to change the world, but your mind about the world.
That's right. So. And in this lesson, it said how to do that is if you will identify with your true self.
Right.
So that's the to-do part for us, is to choose to identify with the Christ in us.
Yeah. And if it's an abusive relationship, that just is at the level of the test needed, in my perception of what we read. Because you certainly don't see yourself as the same as that person. And so that's where it comes in to, hey, higher loving true self in me, you're going to have to be my eyes here. You're going to have to be my ears, because we've been doing it with our own eyes and our own ears. And that's what is part of the issue.
Right.
And when we start down that path, then this person that we saw no similarity with, all of a sudden, Spirit gives us the eyes to see, the ears to hear, the hands and the feet, and it's our pathway home. But like in all the readings, we need help. We need a guide. We need a counselor, and we have one.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Course calls that one the voice for God, the Holy Spirit,
right.
The great corrector of misperception. So we want to ask for help to identify with our true self, which is the self that knows it's only love and wants only to extend that love to everyone as equals. Beautiful. All right, you guys. Oh, thank you so much for joining this healing circle. And if you're watching this on YouTube, like, share, and subscribe. And that tells the algorithm that this content is important, and it pushes that out to more people. And so thank you for supporting these ideas and strengthening them as they go out into the world that needs them so much. We appreciate you all so much, and we'll see you next time we see you.
Love you guys.